Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is September 14th, 2023 on the ancient moon calendar, 2024 on the ancient sun calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity and in alignment with the ancient Noahide laws as stated by this Holy Congress. This is the Sovereign Living Ancient, Article 3. Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court Action. We are the Sovereign Living Justices, and Ego Sum Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminutio nolo in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capit et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Israelites, Hamathites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earthwide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are exercising the law by our sovereign status, which is the Universal, Original, Indigenous, Natural, Divine, Sovereign, Ancient Article 3, United States District 4, Columbia Court. And we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, and title trustors for all causes for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign ascension. We do hereby possess in our custody, all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We, the one true God nation, are not at war. We are not at war. We are not at war, and we hereby exercise all eternal, ancient, original sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. So, the processes that we share are not our opinion. Along with our sovereign, powerful demonstrations and study, these processes that we share are based on principles of stare decisis, res judicata, ancient positive supreme law for the land long established in sovereign order, erudite principles and processes for daily practical application to intelligently govern our vast estate is what our ancestors have given us to share with the ancient sovereign nations, tribes, clans, states, and governments at earth. And for this, we are grateful. Islam. Okay. So, first let me state that the previous Congress video did not properly broadcast, although it was twice uploaded. We are superior creator stewards of the information that we have inherited. Therefore, the information will reach the ears of those willing to hear. So we don't really worry too much about malfunctioning platforms and all of that. The information will get to those that it is meant to get to. The information belongs to the people. And so we don't worry about any of that. We just continue to put the information out there because that is what our ancestors have given us to do. With that being stated, the ancestors have given us some information regarding the work that we've been doing and the land here. And this information is for all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. Being good stewards of this information that we are about to share with you is our goal, so that our ancestors know that we honor the information and the things that they are showing us and that they are doing regarding our demonstrations. So as you all may have known in the past, we put some, we've done many demonstrations regarding the land here, and we've put, we videoed many of those demonstrations so that you could see them. And we want to show you some things that have taken place with regard to the demonstrations that we've done. And the reason that we're showing this is so that as this continues to manifest in the other territories, at your territories and where you are, that we govern the process properly, that we govern it properly, and that things like, ego and things of that nature don't come into play, because that has nothing to do with what we're doing. So let us show quickly that as we've been doing these demonstrations, this has happened most recently. And again, those that we've been demonstrating regarding were not real government, okay? They were not real government. We're the real government. And so because we're the real government, as we continue to steward and govern the information and all properly, the ancestors will have those subjects to manifest as they should. So one of the things that has been enacted here lately is the following. Here at this territory, let me just go ahead and share my screen. Here at this territory, the way that bottom re-instruments were being enacted was that when people would go to enact registering land with the county, quote unquote, and that's not the real county, we know that those that were enacting being the county would register things and do things, and really they were just showing us, they were enacting that to show us how to do it. And then and this goes for everything that we're doing, everything that we look at out there, they're showing us how to do it, how to manage crises and things of that nature. Not that we're going to have any crises, because we're not. there's no such thing as crises on our land. But the things that we've been seeing where they're recording things and they're writing down things and they're showing what happens when people don't honor the system, we see what happens. And as we do those things and watch them and remember them and then demonstrate them, when we demonstrate them properly, then those that are enacting those things will stop acting. They will stop doing it because we are doing it. Okay? And so what has happened here, where the actors were concerned, is that we have properly demonstrated from start to finish proper registration and recording, rather, because we use the word recording of land. We demonstrated that on the record publicly. And when we did that, they said, okay, we don't have to do it anymore. The Moors know how to record land. Okay. And so what they did was they ended their recording, their quote unquote registration of land. And so it says here, and this is their enactment, TORRENS system ended July 1st, 2023. It says on July 3rd, 2023, King County, and we know that's not the real, those are actors, we're the real King County, issued a certificate of withdrawal for all land in King County listed in the TORRENS system. The recording number is, and they gave that number there, and it can be found on the King County Recorder's website under search for recorded documents, not registered, recorded. That means no more bottom re-instruments will be created. That what has begun to be created regarding the land is, just one moment, I didn't put that link in the chat, so I'm not sure who did. Someone pretending to be light. Let me just get rid of that really quickly. Okay, they put themselves out. So, the bottom re-instruments here regarding our land are no more. So what I did was I looked up this document here. Thank you, Empress Chris. She says that state of Delaware gives options for recording. That means that someone at Delaware is doing some things right. Some of the Moors there are doing things right, and I know, Empress Chris, I know it's you, and the other Moors that are there at Delaware Territory are properly recording things and putting it on the public record. Therefore, there's the funny mirror is receding. That's what recession is all about, and depression is all about, is them receding back and not pretending to do anything with regard to our lands. And so I looked this up. I read a few things about it also. And what they're saying is that it says here, owners with property previously registered in the TORRENS system can get a copy of original records and the certificate of withdrawal upon request. The reason that they give them that certificate, this is their enactment, they enacted original records because there's no original records but the ones we create. And so they say, okay, here's what they were calling original records, and here's a certificate of withdrawal, meaning those records are not valid. They never were. And it says this certificate removes any property listed in King County from registration. Registration was all about those doing business as the Crown. That's what the word regis is all about. Regis and regal is about the crown and those that were acting as the crown. But see, the real crown is all of us. And we record things. We are the living record. So we want to put this on the public record in terms of letting you know that this will happen at all the other territories just like this, whereas you demonstrate proper recording of your documents and putting them on the public record peacefully, that the actors will stop acting. The way that we do that is, and we'll talk about this briefly, we did not put property on the public record as individuals. We put it on the public record because we are the state, we're the government, we're the empire. All of our documents state that. And then we showed you, we showed in a previous video where our documents, even in red, our liens and everything, had been uploaded by the subjects here, which is proper claim. That's proper claim. That's how you know that things are being done properly, is that the system will respond to what it is that you're doing, you're demonstrating. We've demonstrated these processes, and you know, this is one of the results of that. Okay. It is important that as you see this happening at your territory, that you continue to record properly your land, all lands. And again, this happened here because we are recording things not as Pauline Denise Ritchie only. We are the states united. We have come together. See, they see that here. The subjects see that and they say, okay, we have to not act like that anymore, because they've come together, they've unified, they voted. And not only that, now hear me when I say this more, is because this statement that I'm about to state right now, some have a problem with it, but you're going to have to get over it. We've also included the subjects in what we're doing, because they can't be left out there lost at sea. And as we continue to be honorable, which we all are, and then the subjects are honorable, this is what happens. So, yes, it is, Empress Camille, that is love. We love everyone. Moors, we're the head and not the tail. We're the head and not the tail. And so, as this continues to manifest at your territories, I'm seeing what Empress Chris put in the chat, Delaware. Yes. Someone put something in the chat that is interesting that we can look at right now. What is the TORRENS Act? It wasn't a law, it was an act. And then what was the TORRENS Act? Originally enacted in Australia as the Real Property Act of 1858. And we know that in 1858, they were preparing for 1861, which is when Congress adjourned sine die in the enactment. And they were preparing for 1871 when the Act of Incorporation of the United States happened. Islam Empress Shasha. Did Justice Howard, is he? I want to ensure that everyone gets in. This will happen at all territories. Yes, see, let me say this about that. Thank you for putting that in the chat, Justice Harold. He put to secure the abandoned lands. The lands had to be secured before this would even take place, because there's really kind of like no such thing as abandoned land. And so what does this mean? Let's just take this time to just look at this. It says here, this certificate removes it from registration. That means it must be properly recorded. It says the property will be treated as any other non-registered property without the restraints and restrictions it previously had when the property was in registration. Let me say this too. The properties that were registered, just one moment, were taxed. That registration was a taxing situation. That's what it was. They were enacting taxing. Okay. And what does that mean? That means that what we have stated previously is exactly what it should be. That taxes, that is a government process. Okay. And our lands, we've already recorded them as not taxed. And because we were willing to do whatever it took, Morris, particularly where the fiat is concerned, and we're not, listen, if you're still using fiat, it's okay, because this is going to happen anyway. Okay. Here it says state law prevents any land being entered into registration after July 1st, since there is no longer a TORRENS registered land system to enter into records. The public record is our system. It's ours. It belongs to us. It belongs to all of us. I will put the link to this website in the chat so that you all can look at it at your leisure and do the study on it, because this will happen at your territory. Where everything that was previously enacted as being registered is not registered anymore. But it won't happen until all land, is properly proclaimed, and that has already happened with all of us. Because we did things as the empire and not just as individuals, or not even as individual territories and individual states. We did it together. So all land, you'll see that enactment of an octopus that seemed like it had its greedy tentacles around our estate. It just goes away. And so now, what does this mean? Well, think about the things that we put on the public record before, where we stated that anything that's going to be notarized, anything that's going to be notarized, we're the notaries, we're the courts, we're the judges and justices. Okay. Now, for those, there's one that says they're confused. The reason why it looks like we're stating one thing and you're hearing something else is because of the confusion within each, confused. And thank you for admitting that you're confused. Confusion means war. That means that, and all it is, and again, thank you for stating that that's going on with you. All that is part of your brain is still thinking from the old way that the old system was valid. And part of your brain is tapped into the new, to the ancient, to who we are. That's why you're confused. And that's not a criticism of you. In fact, it is. I honor that you put that you're confused. um, it does say, yeah, 3,500. Listen carefully to me. Those 3,500 parcels is all land. If it's true for one parcel, it's true for all of them. Now, this is the site that says all land. It says it right there. All land. Right there. All land. So now, let not your heart be troubled, neither be afraid. What's true for one on our land is true for all. Why? Because we were unified as we did this. Empress Camille, you said it. We were unified. We said all Moors. We said all land. We said all. Allah. That's what Allah, that is who Allah is. Allah is all of us together. And when we do that, this is one of many results. You know what this means? Also, it means that our records are the true records. Now, we knew that, and they knew that, but now everyone knows, even those who were tapped into a system that was not the right system. Yes. Thank you, Anonymous. It says there, King County parcel data has detailed information on 564,000 parcels. Let me tell you what they're stating. What they're stating about the 564,000 is that's 564,000 individual parcels. And those individual parcels are contained within the 3,500. That's why it's so many. Individuals are not at this territory, again, and that's what we're stating about us unifying. We're not doing things as individuals because individuals is not the government. The government is all of us. Now, those individual parcels are going to have to be properly recorded. Properly recorded, because they're not, obviously. Obviously, they're not. A parcel is whatever we say it is. And thank you, Justice Darius. Yes, we love it too. We're saying that the 564,000 are contained within the 3,500. Just like there are, let's just say, 50 states contained within one United States. And that's the States United, the original indigenous States United. Not any debtors. Not any debtors. And so those 564,000 must be properly recorded. And that is where our courts come in at. Yes. And Anonymous, listen, Empress Camilla just put it there, but we'll state it for you in Latin. E pluribus unum. Right? Out of many, one. Many members, one body. One head. The Moors are the head. Islam. So as we continue to demonstrate, let's take a look at this document, because I will say this, they enacted, and again, this is still all acting. The things that we've done is real. So let's look at the document. Just one moment. Okay, let's take a look at this document because it's an interesting document, and even this document must be restated. Just one moment. Let me pull it up this way because I looked at the document just the other day. This is not necessarily the one that I wanted to look at. I want to look at the one. Maybe we will see the document here. There it is. No, that's not the right one. That one is interesting too, but that's not necessarily the right one. Let's take a look here. And one thing I will say about this also, they are stating, and when I say stating, because again, they're under our sovereign authority, that there's no cost for those who are saying that they're going to withdraw their land from the torrent system. Okay. What they're not telling them is that the land must be properly recorded. So proper recording is going to absolutely be that it be recorded on the public record under our authority because of all the things that we stated. I want to take a look at the document. That's one moment. Let's see if we can find it. No, it's taking me to the same page. Okay. Okay. Let's see if we can find it this way. I know this is how I found it the last time. Here it is. Okay. So this is the document right here. We looked it up and here's what they're stating. This is that document number. And they enacted putting it on the record. It says this is to certify that listed registered owner, the owners in fee simple of the following described land situated in the County of King, State of Washington, and again, those are corporations, the title to which has been heretofore registered under the laws of the State of Washington, to wit, all property listed in registration up to July 1st, 2023, situate in Washington State, County of Kings. In other words, that's the corporations taking their enacted hands off of the land. Okay, and you can see here they're using, we know this is an act because they're using abbreviations here where it says tax account parcel no, which is an abbreviation, should be an abbreviation for number, but we don't know what their abbreviations mean, and it's not important to us. Parcels listed in registration up to, that means since the very beginning, but this is the part we wanted you to see. Having heretofore adhere with House Bill 1376, which removes all land from registration. All land from registration. Hold on, someone just put something in the chat. Just a moment. Let me get rid of that out of the chat. Just a moment. They want to interrupt as often as possible, but they're not going to be able to. Because once we put them out, they're out. Just one moment. Okay. Okay. It says here, having heretofore adhered with House Bill 1376, which removes all, are all on the land again, Islam, which removes all land from registration in Washington State and withdraw said title to said lands from the registry system. What does that say about their titles if they can just be withdrawn completely all at once by just one swoop? That means they weren't real. And that is why it's important for each one of us to do the work and then state it together. We've been using the same letterhead, everything that we've been doing it as one. And that is how things like this happen. Yes, it does, and not really, because they don't speak for the sovereign. So, Empress Sarai, that's a question. They cannot speak for us and for our land. All they're doing is removing all actors. Remember, we talked about sunset, and we proclaimed and declared sunset in our last meeting, our last Congress. And so this is what sunset looks like. Okay, it's the dead system, not the living system. They don't speak for us. We've already spoken for ourselves. That's why this is happening. It says all land from registration in Washington State and withdraw said title to said lands from the registry system. And said House Bill 1376 has been acknowledged by the Registrar of Titles on the 3rd day of July. Now look at their spelling here. Yes, on the 3rd day of July, 2023. That is the ecclesiastical spelling of the word the. Now, therefore, the title to said above described land. This is important about how the land is described, because when they're describing it using abbreviations and things. So that's their description of what they were claiming as land. It says, said above described lands has been withdrawn. The title to said above described lands has been withdrawn from the effect and operation of the title registry system of the state of Washington, and the owners of said land are by law authorized to contract concerning convey, encumber, or otherwise deal with the title to said lands in the same manner and to the same extent as though said title had never been registered. That means Everything is turned back to the way it was where our foremothers and forefathers are concerned. This act, the TORRENS Act, let's take a look at that. And of course, they actually, enacted a signature and a seal. Okay. And so with they're actually, enacting, doing things the way it should be done. But again, they're acting so that we see that things should be signed and sealed and placed on the public record. Now, this says Director, Records, and Licensing Services. What does that mean? That means anything that has to do with records where land is concerned, or licensing where land is concerned, or any direction where land is concerned. We do it, not anyone acting, okay? And so, let me grab this really quickly also, because we are going to, we'll make our own, never mind. Another thing that we want to take a look at as we're looking at the land that is ours, our land, and also remember that we put the stamps from our King County Superior Court on all of our affidavits when they go out. But not just our King County, but Pierce County, Thurston County, Snohomish County, other counties, and you can do the same. And again, when you stand in your sovereign authority that way, then competently and peacefully, with our proper energy that we have here at this Congress, then everything is going to be what it should be. Look here, King County WA, W-A. This is how you know they don't speak for us. Look at these addresses with these abbreviations in them. See, so theirs was never real in the first place, but now they have to enact going away as well, and what that looks like. We get to see what that looks like. Yes, we restate the document. Yes, and if I were you all for your territories, restate this document as well. It's not an absolute necessity to restate it, simply because we are going to restate it. Yeah, I would say restate it, simply because they're giving certificates. They're enacting giving certificates of withdrawal. And what does that mean for us? Because we're the true systems, that anyone willing to have proper recording of their documentation, most likely they're going to bring something like that, a certificate of withdrawal, to us, showing that they're no longer, that they've done their due diligence with regard to that system, that previous system, and now we're doing what we're doing. We've demonstrated all of this. For us, this would be a public announcement that we make. Our termination of all corporate contracts did this. Our discontinuing the use of bottomry instruments did do the withdrawal. This document located. I'll put the link to this document in the chat also, so that you can, just one moment. So that you can pull this document up and take a look at it. there. I just put the link to this document in the chat so that you can look at it. Yes, Empress Sarai, this is just a de facto notice of withdrawal. It's an enactment of de facto. We knew that that system wasn't valid. We knew that. But knowing is half the battle, and it wasn't a battle. Knowing is half the process. Let me say that. Knowing is half the process. The other half of the process is demonstrating that you know it's not valid by putting your own documentation on the public record the way that we've done, and things of that nature. In our last Congress, Empress Nabi, Justice Nabi, asked a question about how do they, her group, her Congress, let me just call it that, call them that, because that is who they are. Her Congress at her territory, they are looking at a structure, a building. Well, and she was asking how do they properly proclaim that. We gave her 8 parts of one process to do that. And I can assure you that once that is demonstrated at her territory, that this same thing, this same type of an announcement is going to be made there. We all must do our actions as the United States, the living United States, not the debtors, we're the creditors. So all we're doing is swooping in and getting our stuff, basically, you know. And that is how we demonstrate. Now, let me say this about that. How does that affect foreclosed property where one's property was taken? Well, Justice Travis, thank you for that beautiful question. That means that whoever it was that was claiming the property did not have the title. They didn't have proper title. They didn't have proper title. Null and void, just like Empress Camille said. They didn't have proper title. But see, our job, again, is to present all of that. Proper title, a lien on that. See, we liened that enactment of King County. And then not only did we do that, but we began demonstrating that we're the real King County. And that is how, that's what makes the fake go away, is when the real shows up. And so those who've had properties taken, look at the property as being the property that belongs to all of us and not just your individual property. Because see, as an individual, there has to be a state involved. You must be that state. Individuals don't own anything, as it were, in the system. The state owns all. And then the people who are the original indigenous people, and this is something that's key. If you look at what they're stating there, not once did they mention nationality, they didn't even mention citizenship. Why? Because those who are the sovereigns must know who they are. Put it on the public record, and then any processes that come after that can be done as, let's say, a form, or, you know, the way that we do forms, a restated form. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Justice Q. Freeman L. Thank you for that. Yes, you do. I just wanted to be sure that we showed this. And then there's one other thing as we begin to open up the meeting for this whole Congress. I just wanted to ensure that we got through this without interruptions from, you know, court jesters and things of that nature. But I want to show you the House bill that they're referring to, House Bill 1376. Let's take a look at that.
King County Council has now passed the North.
Just a moment. Okay, here it is. When I looked at this particular document, I was just, our ancestors know what they're doing. Again, peaceful, competent actions by us. And this is why Empress Angel brought this out a couple of meetings ago, a couple of congresses ago, about patience, being patient through this process that we're doing of claiming our land properly and peacefully and things of that nature. So here's the House bill. I'll put this in the chat as well. A link to this one in the chat so that you can see it as well, so that you can look at it. There it is in the chat. It is an act. An act. They're actors. They admit it. It's an act relating to registration of land titles. And again, they were just showing us how to record our land titles. This document, I will say, it blew me just away, not blew me away, but it just expanded my mind in terms of the language. It really did. Look, first here it says civil rights and judiciary. Civil rights and judiciary. Civil rights. That's about the all caps name, and that's about that's about the all caps name, and in some cases the in capitis diminutio minima, which is the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters in all lowercase letters. Brief summary of the bill. Indeed, Islam. It only applies as we state and restate things. That's when things apply, is when we say it, when we state it, when we put it on the public record and properly, competently, peacefully demonstrate that process. Islam. It repeals the TORRENS Act registration system for real property. It provides for the withdrawal of real property from the registration system and the recordation of the certificate of withdrawal. So anything that anyone is doing in terms of saying, oh, I'm going to withdraw my property from that system, they're automatically going to get a certificate of withdrawal in this enactment, because the certificate of withdrawal is actually telling them that the property was not, first of all, it wasn't theirs. Second of all, it was not recorded properly. The majority report, it says do pass. Minority report did not pass. Those words are very important. Minority report without recommendation. That's important. We'll talk about that at another time. And we've spoken about it in the past, about who gets to speak and who does not get to speak. You know, in terms of everyone has a voice. It is a matter of the sovereign being the head and stating and hearing. Now, they're talking about a recording system. They're saying registration, and then recordation of the certificate of withdrawal. Okay. That means that they know that there's a difference. Okay. Now, let's look at this right here. This analysis was prepared by nonpartisan legislative staff for the use of legislative members in their deliberations. This analysis is not part of the legislation, nor does it constitute a statement of legislative intent. All they're saying there is this is a suggestion for the real legislature. Okay, but it passed. It's a suggestion, but it passed. The background, the recording system. This first statement just, my mind was just so hugely expanded that it was absolutely just crazy. Hugely expanded. Someone put something in the chat there about a property that they're claiming is ours here. I want to take that. Let me just make sure I get a look at what they're putting there at a later time. Just one moment. Okay. Let me see if we put that there. Okay. So because see, we're not going to get off track, and that's what that is all about. Is an attempt to get us off track. We'll pay attention to it in a little while, or after. I'll look at it afterwards, and you all are free to look at it also. It's an enactment of a public record. So let's take a look and see. Okay. Now, listen to this. There is not a single statewide recording system in which real property records are kept. That was enough for me. Because we all thought that there was in the last era. Didn't we think that there was one single statewide system? We thought that. And many properties and things of that nature have been enacted as if there was. Because when they went to, enact eviction, they would say King County, they would bring papers from a sheriff, someone that was acting as a sheriff. We thought that was one system. And then occasionally there would be policy enforcers or those acting as policy enforcers showing up talking about you got to get out. Well, who is the you and who are they in those costumes? So there is not a single statewide recording system in which real property records are kept. Now let me state this about what they're saying here. When they say statewide, they're not talking about Washington State. They're talking about their debtor United States. They're talking about nothing coming from what was previously Washington, D.C. That's what statewide means, just like nationwide means what it means about nations. Statewide. That means if it wasn't here, it wasn't there either. When I say here, if it wasn't not here, but if it wasn't on paper, if there wasn't a statewide system on their paper, then there wasn't one at DC either, because they're all one. Okay. So with that being stated, let's look at this further. Yes, you're going out. Okay. With that being stated, it says, rather, the records for property within each county are kept at the county level by the county auditor. Who is that? Who's the county auditor at any county? That's the Moors. County auditors are required to keep both a grantor and a grantee index of recorded documents. Not a record, but an index. Not a record, but an index. The grantor-grantee indices, or let me state that word the way that it's really supposed to be stated. Indices and indictment. Think about those words. That means somebody committed a crime. Because indices, indictments, same thing, instead of indexes or indices. So the grantor-grantee indices include the following information. Yes, Empress Camille, they were enacting an overlay. It's called the Buck Act. What are they doing here? They're showing us how to, because they can't tell us what to do. They're enacting, showing us what should be on the records at a minimum. Okay? At a minimum, what should be on the record that we record. And clearly, we've already done this properly, and we'll show you some examples of that shortly, an example of that shortly. We've done it properly, and it has all of these points on it. So what did we do? We rebutted point for point any registrations enactment. We've already rebutted them point for point. Date of recording, grantor's name, grantee's name, nature of document recorded, nature of document recorded, naturalization, nature, nationality, nature, volume and page where recorded and or the auditor's file number, remarks, description of property, remarks, that means to mark again. That means it's similar to the word restate. That means to state again. Description of property and assessor's property tax parcel or account number. And this tells you here that parcel numbers are account numbers. They're the same. And then they tell you here, this was important. In 1907, Washington adopted the TORRENS real property registration system as an optional alternative to the recording system. They were stating that it was optional, but would send an actor in a sheriff's costume to evict people based on those records. To show us how to govern the record. It says, although both the recording and registration systems are housed in the county auditor's office, the two systems are separate from one another. I wouldn't believe that. I wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't believe it. If I were anyone out there reading this, I would not believe that they're separate. That doesn't make sense. So the TORRENS system is similar to the registration system used for cars and boats, but involves a judicial component as well. There's the answer. There's the answer to conveyances and property of any kind. Registration or proper, not registration, but recording, proper recording is how those things are collected, proper recording. Cars and boats and domiciles and all of that and conveyances are given or are possessed by proper recording. They use a lot of crazy wording in here too. A person believing that he or she has title to land. You can't believe that you have title to land. You must know that you have title to land. And how is that knowing demonstrated? It is demonstrated by you demonstrating the title. And that's something that must be done by government. On government letterhead, which is a sacred letterhead, by the way. It's a sovereign letterhead. By government letterhead, with right red thumbprint and red signature in red ink, in capitis diminutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio redes. Those are all together. In propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio redes. All together. We do it all together in that manner, as individual sovereigns doing it all together. So I know, and I could see it in the atmosphere and in the energies and in the enactment, that when we started suggesting that all Moors use the letterhead, we knew then, we could see the matrix responding to that, knowing that that was a key. That's a key, that we all speak with one voice. Is proper recording synonymous with perfected title? A title is not perfected until it's recorded properly. Hopefully that answers the question. That proper recording is a part and parcel of a perfected title. Publishing is also part of that. Sovereign status is also part of that. Now, let me open the meeting. So any who have any questions, comments, wisdom regarding what we've shown thus far, you can star 6 to make statements, ask questions, etc.
Islam Empress.
Islam Empress.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Oh, see, I'm already in my kitchen cooking this all the way up. Okay? Yes. Because it's on time. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, something like came to my mind in the
business. So now you can just run down and get your stuff now that you figured out that you're not recording stuff.
Look at there. La 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 la. Be quiet.
Right. In regards to David and Goliath, and how David was he struck down Goliath with a stone.
Yes.
Right? So then I looked up the symbolic meaning.
We were going away in September, bitch. I thought we
the meaning of a stone. And so stones are symbolic of the history they've lived while on earth. That's one meaning. And in Hebrew, a stone such as you might find in a creek or a field, but can also be a weight used in a balanced scale. It is made from stone or a block within a building that is made of hewn stone, HEWN stone.
Yes.
So I just found that interesting because when in the Bibliotext, when David slew Goliath, it was with a stone, the word. And so and when it mentioned history, we are slaying the so-called quote-unquote Goliath with our story, our truth, right? And so that's it.
Yes, indeed, Empress. Thank you for that. A stone is anything in writing. If you'll notice in hieroglyphics, they were written on stone. Hieroglyphics, the history is written on stone. A stone in the biblioheliotext, whenever they talk about stones being thrown, that means somebody issued a proclamation, issued the law, and sent it forth. That's what stones indicate in the biblioheliotext. That's what they represent. A stone is a writing issued by a justice or a judge. Even when David, as he was running, he said, he comes to you in the name of the Lord. He said, I'm doing this, going up against you, Goliath, in the name of the Lord. That means there were some words. First of all, who's who? So he was doing a court action and identifying who he is and who Goliath is. Because the thing he said about Goliath is, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? That's what he called Goliath, an uncircumcised Philistine. That means he had to say, who is that first? Who is it before you go against them? You got to know who you're dealing with. And then you pronounce judgment or justice. So stones, and he did it when he used the sling and hit him in the head, that's decapitation. And he didn't just hit him in the head, he took Goliath's sword and cut off his head. That is a court action and capital punishment. Capital punishment. All of that is done on paper. All of that's done on paper. It's all done on paper. That's actually one of the things that made it so that, and because David was at war when he did that, he was not allowed to build the temple. So his son Solomon was given, because Solomon did it peacefully. David used the word. He wielded it greatly. That's why Psalms is the largest book in the Bible, quote unquote.
Catholic, Grand Pillsbury Rising, people.
He used the word, but he did it from a place of war. And so he couldn't build the temple. And that's why we do things peacefully. So with that being stated about the stone being the word, as we're looking at this, the thing that the variable, and it wasn't a variable, the part and parcel of this that we were reading about this House bill talked about court, making the decision, the court making the decision. So they're saying that applications have to be filed, and the court refers the matter to a court-appointed attorney called the examiner of titles, who then examines the title and files an opinion with the clerk with respect to the applicant's title. So they're telling you who has the ultimate say-so. There's opinions being given, and then there's a clerk. Assuming the opinion is favorable, the clerk issues a summons. The applicant is the plaintiff, and any persons in possession or appearing to have an interest are defendants. If the action concludes with a judgment, default or otherwise, a decree of confirmation of title and registration is entered quieting title to the property. Is entered quieting title to the property. Islamic.
And so going back to clerk,
yes.
Clerk is a subsidiary of the Treasury.
Yes.
And so we know we are the Treasury and we are the fiduciary and the clerk. So it says an opinion, we would restate this to state that it would be an affidavit for and by the clerk with respect to the claimant's title.
Yes. Clerk and Chief Justice.
Mm-hmm.
So either one of those. Now, let's continue here. It says the decree is not final for 90 days. It is subject to appeal. Registration is entered quieting title to the property. Quieting title doesn't even mean they own the title either. Now, we're not going to be issuing titles out to people. We're going to be issuing certificates of title. The Moors, the original indigenous people, must, and we will always let them know this as we're doing this, declare their nationality and do those 6 documents where you're leaning the fraud and all of that, and then create their own title. Okay.
Angel is much
because
more
they
useful.
have to speak for
under the bridge
themselves.
from which
You know what I'm saying? They have to speak for themselves. We're going to assist in every way for them to do that. You know what this also means? It means that jails and prisons and things of that nature are not, they have to be on, they're on the land. That means we govern all of that. And again, we've known that, we've demonstrated that. Yes, Empress Camilla, they must declare that they are no longer minors and that they're competent. That is how, because you have to, we all are competent to govern the land. We must demonstrate that. That's why nobody can speak for us. Once final, the court decree is binding, and based on this decree, based on the court's decree, and they say decree, we say judgment or justice or, ruling, the county auditor can only issue the first certificate of title with that being the case. So even where Moors are concerned.
Why is Lamont Maurice Butler still in jail, Pauline? I thought you freed him.
And so he must speak for himself just like everyone else, and that's a response to the Moors regarding that. And he's good at doing that. He knows how to speak for himself. The county auditor issues the first certificate of title listing the owner as well as any others whom the court has determined in the decree have an interest in the property. So this is another reason why I am so forever grateful to our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey, who said, get the courts up and going. Get them up and going. And if my eyes are shifting a little bit, I'm watching this computer over here and this one over here, and the notifications that are coming through. That way I can see the chat as well. But yes, that is why to our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey for insisting and pushing and continuing to push and continuing to put it on the public record. Get the courts going. Get the courts going. Here we are. Here we are. So with that being stated, let's continue reading here. At this point, the title is considered a registered title. So what they're saying here, again, is that their system was not valid, but that our system is proper. They're saying their registration system wasn't valid. That's what this says here. Because it is stating that a proper recording is necessary. Okay, alphabetical and track indices are registered land are kept by the county auditor. Once an original certificate of title is issued, any subsequent transaction that affects the title must be registered rather than recorded. Okay, and for us it's backwards. It must be recorded and then we register. And again, we register with ourselves. So we are the registrar.
Well,
we are the recorder and all of that. We're the registrar, we're the recorder, etc. All of that. We hold all titles.
Just march down and get first aid.
I wonder why they think it's okay to yell. It's not okay to yell, even though they're not talking to us. So with that being stated, let's continue to move forward in what we're doing. Just a moment. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. Just a moment.
You're a fucking liar, Pauline.
That's the one we were looking for. Islam. Okay.
The ancestors are showing us repossession.
Oh, there's the other one we were looking. Okay. So there is a statutory means for removing land from registered title and returning it to recorded title. Recorded title and registered title. More, please do the study on the difference between registration and recording. Okay, we could do that for you. That is an assignment that we prefer that you do, and then we'll discuss it. It says the TORRENS Act is repealed in its entirety. Okay, the TORRENS Act is repealed in its entirety. The act is. The system is not, because we're the system. That system belongs to us. Okay, so now we could look a little further in regards to this particular bill. Remember, and we're going to have to go back and look at what we were doing around this time. I'm sure what kind of CEO or doesn't have support from their companies to make sure everything gets recorded. Okay. Staff summary of public testimony. It says here the TORRENS Land Registry is a procedurally inefficient and outdated system of guaranteeing ownership and debt. That's what their system was doing. It was guaranteeing ownership and debt. Those things don't even go together. They don't go together. Ownership and debt don't go together. They don't. So with all of this, still have TORRENS operating these two systems is incredibly inefficient. Okay, it says while millions of land parcels in the state are recorded, not registered, recorded under the modern abstract of title or chain of title system, neither one of those is valid. That's why they put minus signs in between, hyphens. Some people call those hyphens, minus signs. In between, those are not valid. About 4,000 land parcels in the state are accounted for in the archaic TORRENS registration system, with about 3,000 of those in King County. For the 5 counties that still have TORRENS registered land, operating these two systems is incredibly inefficient. So again, all we're doing at this point is showing that we are competent to govern the land by proper and competent and peaceful registration, recording rather, and moving forward in that manner. Now look at this right here really quickly. It says the TORRENS system disadvantages tradespeople who wish to file a lien against the property because they have to go through the courts to file a lien rather than simply recording it through the county auditor's office. This is why our liens were so important. And this tells you who was the real TORRENS system. liens must go through a court in order for them to be valid. So, and when I say a court, I mean a court of competent jurisdiction, which is our court. Whereas in the corporate system, because see, the registration system, quote unquote, was a corporate system. It was corporate. And that's why they would just say, okay, here, register this lien with the county auditor's office and we'll make sure that lien is valid. You know, that lien is put on the record as a lien, and then hold that property in, you know, in abeyance, essentially, because there's a lien against it. So, are there any questions about this introduction to what is happening? Just one moment. Let me get rid of that as well. That is not me putting those in the chat. That's someone who wants to beat the Moors. Okay. So we could look at this and just go through it word for word, but we won't take the time to do that now. I would suggest that you study this document. This is important also. It says landowners with recorded titles are protected by insurance issued by privately owned title companies who research the chain of title and find any outstanding debts, easements, or restrictions. If a problem is later identified, such as a boundary issue, the title company pays the owner for that impact. Under TORRENS, it is the county government that is the guarantor. This is funded with a very small fee collected at the time of the original registration, and it is insufficient to settle a possible claim. What are they saying here? They're saying that how the fee is paid determines the jurisdiction, but the fee and the jurisdiction is just the beginning of any disputes. So if someone paid fiat to register in the TORRENS system, all of that was invalidated, basically. Invalidated. Invalidated. And that goes for anything that they did in terms of, and that goes for anything that was done regarding the property period. And let me say this, in the chain of events where property and land is concerned, this is land. If one part in that chain of events is done away with, it corrupts the rest of it. That nullifies everything else that was done based on the property being on land. Any buildings that are on land, if it's on the land and there's something going on with the land, then the building is going the way of the land. Because it's sitting there. So now we did state that we were going to show a document that demonstrates, for example, a deed. Let's show some of the information that is necessary where deeds are concerned. Because what we looked at, deeds indicate who's the legal owner, And again, this is why lawful and legal, when you deed your properties, Morris, and I'm going to have to start, before I even show this, I have to start from what the ancestors stated to us to emphasize today and every day about property. Because see, whenever we talk about property, some Moors automatically start thinking individually about their property and how they got put out and everything. Those enactments happened because government was being enacted by fraud. Okay? Individual actions happen at the behest of government, nation, state, empire. And so the thing that the ancestors have mandated that we put forth on the public record is this: standing government comes before individual wants, needs, etc. If you want, not want, if you will to own the properties and to do all of these things, standing government happens first, and then the government will govern all the rest of that stuff.
If you don't pay, they'll take it away.
Truth.
If you don't pay, they'll take it.
That is absolute truth. And we use our payment system for that. Not a fiat payment system, because that's not payment. As we can see, everybody who paid fiat to register in a TORRENS system, all of that got wiped away. Wiped away. Standing government is first before individual wants, needs, etc. Standing nation, that means unifying together like we've done and like we will continue to do as we have done. Standing nation is first before individual wants and needs. Standing state is first before individual wants and needs, because that is how property is managed. Okay? Now, the things that we say are not, they're not suggestions. It's actually the law. This is the law. This is ancestral mandate. So what we do is when we make statements like this, we just show where in the holy writings that these statements are made, why we make these statements the way that we do. Circle 7, Holy Quran for the Moorish Holy Temple for Science. Did you know that the word government is mentioned exactly one time in the Circle 7? Once. One time the word government is mentioned. It's mentioned a minimum of 55 times in the Biblios-Heliotext. What does that say? That says that the Circle 7 Holy Quran focuses on our godness first, then all of the other follows. It focuses on things like magistrate and subject, and the bonds of affection. So it talks about government the whole way, but the word government is only mentioned one time. The rest of the time is talking about he and she and they and we together. Okay? So, just a moment. Okay. And so, Let's just make sure. Chapter 35, verses 9 and 10, circle 7. Holy Quran. Yes, it is encoded in Priscamia. It states the following. The providence, no, we don't declare war. We don't declare war ever. We never declare war. We don't have to declare war. That is not what we do. So here, let's make this a little bigger so we can see. The providence of Allah is ever all her works. Yes, we did restate the Circle 7 Holy Quran for the Moorish Holy Temple for Science. We know the word Allah is the feminine. That's what our teachers have stated on the public record. And so we just said, okay, we know that our teachers are telling the truth about Allah being a feminine word. So we've just stated that, okay, Allah will be her in the restatement of the Holy Quran, thereby placing the matriarch at the head as she should have always been, and always has been and will be. And again, our sons, that does not diminish our sons. They have matriarchal energy because they come from us. So, having stated that, the providence of Allah is ever all her works. She ruleth and directeth with infinite wisdom. She hath instituted laws for the government of the world. The whole world. She hath wonderfully varied them in all beings. And each, now you're talking individuals, by his or her nature, the nature, conformeth to the will of Allah. By the nature, that's where naturalization of subjects and nationalization of the heirs, that's where all of that is about. That's where all of that is that's what it is about. Thank you, Empress Camilla. Yes, we do declare peace. And then in the Biblios Heliotext, Romans, the 13th chapter, verse 1, let every person be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. God being the Moors. And we could state that in Arabic, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no strength nor power except in Allah. So again, and we stated this in the past many times before, Moors, that when you all speak, when we speak, our word is the law. We're proving it. We're proving that by competent demonstration. Okay? So now, are there any questions or comments about anything that we've shown and stated thus far? Please take a moment, and we'll be talking more about all of this in our upcoming congressional assemblies, because this is going to happen at all other territories. And if you'll look, we demonstrated competently a while back, way back, January 21st, 2022. Well, what did we do in January 21st, 2021? We did a court action on the dead entities. January 2022, what did we do? We did a 40-day fast. This was during the time where we were fasting. Remember, we fasted from all land animals. in order to celebrate our return back to the land. We did that from December 21st until January 31st. Remember that? And while we were yet fasting to honor the land, this was happening. So, with this being stated, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom before we quickly give a review of Islam? Of the documentation, the document that I was going to show a little while ago has everything to do with the question that Empress Nabi asked last Congress. She asked, her question was, and I'll paraphrase the question, and Empress Nabi, if you're here, please correct any paraphrasing that will be done at your will. She asked if there's a building that her and her Congress for her territory want to utilize and go to, what is the process for that? So we put these things on the public record: nationality and proper status on the public record, fiduciary document, lien on the property, a levy on the property, a bond on the property, title to the property, deed the property, do an occupancy certificate from your city status or state status or government status. United States issues the property to the city and the city issues the property to the organization, or vice versa, either whichever you choose. And we'll look at that some more as well so that we can clearly define that. And then commercial exchange for the property in Moorish sovereign delarium or gold or silver on the public record. Now, let me show you again. We were going to show where deeds are concerned. How you would deed a property. This is how we have deeded a property near here. That's at our territory. It is deeded to the United States as follows. So it's not deeded to Light Tajiri Bay. It's not deeded to the Moorish National Republic federal government. Why? Because the Moorish National Republic federal government is above the deeding process. Above the deeding process. So here, let me put it on the screen. Thank you, Empress. Okay. The Moorish National Republic federal government, which is who we are as well, is above that. So whenever we issue United States documents by affidavit, such as this is an affidavit. The United States, the Moorish National Republic federal government is here, right here. The United States for America is the whole earth. All states united are for America. We are the United States for, we honor Africa. So the United States for Africa is part of this. The United States for Europe, the United States for Australia, the United States for South America, not South America because they're part of the United States for America. But all of the states united, the original indigenous nations are united together, and we are the United States for each other. So when properties are being deeded, and this is how we do liens, deeds, and all of that. We added some other things to this as well. And we'll just go ahead and show you from the top what this document is. It's a United States Post Office property deed. We always started with our court action language. We state the law. It's written in ancient English because we're then going to issue a United States affidavit written in common or commercial English, okay? And it's going to say the same thing as this, basically. And so we stated exactly where it is. Some of these you all may not be familiar with. Some of these measurements you won't be familiar with. Some of these coordinates you won't be familiar with yet. We've not gotten to this part yet. We mentioned it briefly in the past, but we've not gone into detail about this, about universal transverse Mercator coordinates and military grid reference system coordinates. When we initially saw these coordinates, these are the coordinates that put everything back in its proper place, where east was west, west is now east, and so on and so forth. And we'll talk about this a little more in upcoming congressional assemblies, where the documentation and your it's more precise from the universal perspective. But when we're deeding, we're stating that this location is deeded to the United States as follows. And then we just put the recording number, the excise number, which is a tax number, the document date, the sale price, the seller, the buyer, the instrument, the sale reason, which is legal. And all we did was we went to the tax assessor website, quote unquote, pulled this information and restated it. And along with this information, as we're issuing the deed, comes things like parcel identification number, the name of the building, the site address, and then this is the legal description of this place, of this land. And what we did was we went on to the tax assessor website, and they had a whole bunch of abbreviations. So we had to actually look up the abbreviations and then spell them out. Portion of government lot 2 on King County Strategic Plan number 278132, record number. All of this we had to do the research to spell this out. Okay, it's worth it when you're speaking about the land. It's worth it to do the research and do the. Now, if you don't understand this right now or understand it right now, don't worry about that. You can still step by step go ahead and claim properties. As you put your claiming of the properties on the public record, the ancestors are then going to give you the next steps so that yours is as complete as it can be. Okay, so this is a process. Trust yourself in the process. Trust the ancestral energies in the process. And then there was land data that was on the website that we restated, the land square footage, the acres, the percent usable, and all of that, anything about it, access, water, and all of that's public. And again, all of this is from the tax assessor website about the building. And we're spelling it out in ancient English for our affidavits, but then when we do the common English commercial document, it's going to, I won't say dumb it down, it'll make it plain and clear for those that we notify, and those go together. This document will anchor our deed for commercial purposes to the land. Okay. And then we put a photo of the place, and we altered the photo a little bit. This particular one will not be under this video because it's specific to this place. However, we'll let's see, the best way to assist you in demonstrating this is to take it step by step by looking at the tax assessor website and restating what's on the tax assessor website. Okay. The tax roll history, we restated that. We took their, they had fiat signs and things of that nature there. We just took them out and restated that. And then we put the law that states that we can do all of this. We put that under here. 12 United States Code subsection 3713, title, transfer, and possession. Here it is. Title, transfer, and possession. If you all are getting any inboxes from anyone pretending to be light, it is not me. Okay? It's not me because I'm not inboxing anyone. Okay? And when I put something in the chat, I'll let you know that it's me putting it in the chat because sometimes they get past us, the impersonators and actors get past us sometimes, occasionally.
Islam Empress.
Islam.
This is Navi. I'm on a dial-in call. I can't see what's going on. But
yes.
What I wanted to find out, could I get the code repeated again?
Can you get the what repeated again?
The law repeated.
Oh, yes. It's 12 United States Code 3713. Title, transfer, and possession. And I'll put a link to the one that we looked at. We restated it though. I'll put the link in the chat to the one where we looked at it and then we said we're going to just restate it. 12 United States Code 3713. It talked about the deed and who should be handling the deed and what about the title and transfer and possession. We restated that. The deed shall be published by certified notification to proper offices. Proper offices being, if you look at the unstated one, which is right here, this is before we restated it in blue. It says here, they start talking about things such as the foreclosure commissioner has to do some things, and the secretary as holder is doing something, and then the foreclosure commissioner, the mortgager, and any other persons claiming, and they talked about things of that nature. We just restated that because it's necessary to restate it. A purchaser at a foreclosure sale. Okay. And then it talked about courts and taxes and things of that nature. So we just took the time to restate all of that. And here's the restatement. The deed shall be published by certified notification to proper offices. Said deed shall convey all right, title, and interest in the security property stated by the deed. Now, when we say title, we're saying certificate of title. Certificate for title. These actions take place below the level of a title, of an allodial title. Okay. This United States, just one moment, just this, okay. Just a moment. Just a moment. Okay. So as we're, let's continue reading here. Said deed shall convey all right, certificate for title, and interest in the security property stated by the deed. Competent Article 3 judicial court shall govern said title transfer and possession without exception. In other words, it must always go through our courts. All land goes through the courts. Okay? And all titles are at the sovereign level because our land is not bought and sold by anyone in its sovereign state. We issue certificates, and the Moors, as the government, have the title. All of us together have the title. Okay, so that is why our courts are necessary. It says a purchaser at an Article 3 foreclosure sale shall be entitled to possession upon presentment of the title, and that certificate for title, deed, occupancy certificate, and completion of the legal sale. So we're going to be doing these things using our money and our money system, and the foreclosure for us, foreclosure is anything that was anything that's being purchased for the first time in our system. Okay? There's no foreclosure in our system because foreclosure is not a real thing. But we're stating Article 3 foreclosure sale because right now, as it stands, everything was closed beforehand. And now we're just now getting to the point where land is being properly conveyed by way of our systems. Okay? So that's what foreclosure means, is that we're now going to, foreclosure, I could have used the word inventory sale. We could put the word inventory here because everything is in our inventory as it stands. A purchaser at an Article 3 foreclosure inventory sale shall be entitled to possession upon presentment of the certificate for title, the deed, occupancy certificate, and completion of the legal sale. Residential tenants with proper leases may remain for the term of the lease or 1 year, whichever is shorter. This statement right here is about those who are, for example, my consort and I are at this property here. And even though we've done all of the processes from the sovereign status, we are also doing proper notification at the legal level. So anyone, if you're at an apartment or a domicile or a condo, no matter where you are, while you're doing these processes, you or your loved ones who've not awakened yet and all of that, they can remain for the term of the lease or 1 year, whichever is shorter. Okay? As we're going through these processes. Okay? Because here at King County, everybody who's wherever they are can remain there for 1 year or the term of the lease, whichever is shorter. At some point, they're going to have to go through these processes to do these processes properly. And for them, they don't have to do them to the magnitude that we've done them. Okay? They're just going to be appealing to the system that we've put in place by doing them. Okay? So they're going to be using the system that we foundationally have put in place, as it were, here. So a purchaser at an Article 3 foreclosure inventory sale shall be entitled to possession upon presentment of the certificate for title, the deed, the occupancy certificate, completion of the legal sale. Residential tenants with proper leases may remain for the term of the lease or 1 year, whichever is shorter. Residential tenants may accept payment for the remaining lease amount from the purchaser and shall not be deemed a tenant at sufferance. So, tenant at sufferance, what is that? A tenant at sufferance. Does anyone know what a tenant at sufferance is? What that is? Does anyone know what a tenant at sufferance is? A tenant at sufferance, and we could basically say that was, basically in the past, people who were on the land, and Moors, listen to me about this term, because this term is all about you. When you claimed a property while we were going through these processes, and there was someone in the property, and you looked at the property, and you said, oh, they're still in there even though I put these paperwork on the public record, you actually changed their status from to a tenant at suffering. In other words, they were suffering being in there because it didn't belong to them once you properly claim it. That's from the individual perspective. You properly claimed your domicile. And if there was someone in there who is not a part of what you're doing, they're a tenant they're suffering even being in there. Because it's not theirs, they still have to maintain it, they can't burn it down. And every time they go to work and they come home, quote unquote, and they enact that, and they enact getting a paycheck and paying, why are they paying when it's yours? So that's the other side that a lot of Moors did not see as you were doing your demonstrations about property. You didn't realize that you turned them into a tenant at sufferance. That means they're staying there just until you get the rest of that process together, and the government comes in and tells them they got to go. The government must tell them that. That's all of us together. You as an individual, you can claim it properly and all of that. Yes, Empress Camilla, that's what it's called. And many of us have done that. We knew that we had done the right thing about that when we claimed the building down the street here at our territory, and we put all the proper documentation on the public record for the United States, for America. And those people got out of there within 10 days or less. And I was doing my jail demonstration, my jail court demonstration for those 10 days. And by the time I got out of there, they were out. They were no longer, they were not tenants at sufferance because of the documentation and the paperwork and the demonstration that was done. We never capitulated during that 10 days. Not even with the food did we capitulate. We didn't. And so they had to go. And not everyone will have to do that demonstration. We are honored that the ancestors chose us to do that. That is an honor for us. And so any of you who've put documentation on the public record about domiciles, even if there's someone in there, they're just occupying until you come with the whole process. And when you come as government, the government. Okay. And then it says here, there shall be no right of redemption or right for possession based upon right of redemption subsequent to a foreclosure pursuant to this Title 12 United States Code. All that means is that once we do these processes, that whoever was in it previously cannot come back and, go to court and be like, they already transferred the title and did all of these things. And, because our court will have spoken. We will have placed everything on the public record properly. It will be the government that's doing it and not individuals. It will be the proper money system will be in place and all of that. Okay, and it's already in place. We just have to use it. It says when conveyance is made to the secretary, no tax shall be imposed or collected with respect to the deed. The deed shall be valid in all courts and legally recorded. Okay, this goes back to the King County piece that we showed you earlier about the difference between registering and recording. We must do the recording, both legally and lawfully. So the reason that we do affidavits such as this affidavit that we showed you here, such as this affidavit, this deed, when we do that, this is the lawful recording of what is going on. So this is the superior supreme law for the land recording. And then we turn around and do a legal one of these, where we're not using our Moorish government letterhead, we're using United States letterhead of some kind, whether it be the post office letterhead, whether it be Federal Way letterhead, whether it be tax assessor King County letterhead, and we've shown you how to restate the letterhead. Islam, Empress Nabi.
What I'm hearing is it's being created as a trust, perpetual, irrevocable trust.
Yes.
Islam. Okay.
Yes. And whenever the buildings change hands, it just changes hands either to us, or if we deem that the subjects have enjoyment of that, the subjects can use it. Okay. But it always remains in the hands of the government. At no time is it out of government hands. Islam.
Islam, can you go to the top and scroll ever so gingerly? Because I'm doing my best to copy and take it.
Yes.
Gratitude. So I had to restate this for New York.
Islam.
Gratitude.
Let's slowly. Now, Empress Shasha made a statement not last Congress, but the Congress before last, where she briefly mentioned something about the mails not moving and not going through. This is part of remedy for that. This is part of the remedy for that. So this is a deed. Islam, Empress.
So a little slower.
Okay.
Can you rewind back a little bit?
Sure. Okay. Go ahead, Empress Shasha.
So, what you're stating is claiming the post office building.
Yes.
Okay. And I have lead them, so I will follow with this process.
Yes. Yes. Because, and I'll show you why in just a moment, this process is important. There's 3 processes. Once I got this information onto one document, it automatically fit the occupancy certificate, and we do owner occupancy. So all I had to do was copy and paste this onto the owner occupancy certificate. Oops. And then there was also the title to the building. I just copied and pasted it onto the title and added some of the characteristics of a title to it. So it took me maybe a couple of hours to put all three of those documents together. And now this information will be transferred to an owner occupancy certificate. It's going to be greatly abbreviated or shortened for that, because that certificate is going to be like a certificate, an owner occupancy certificate. And some of this information will go on there, and that's a pretty straightforward situation that will show you the things that we're doing. This is the reason that we do even an owner occupancy certificate for the United States is because there was a dead United States, and then there was also, let me stop there. There was a dead United States corporation company pretending to govern those places. So what we're going to be doing as we continue to put these things on the public record is the following. Remember what we talked about in our last assembly. Here it is right here. Title 18, United States Code 1000, subsection 1001, statements and entries generally. Without exception, no person shall in any matter within or without the executive, legislative, and judicial branch jurisdictions for the United States government, knowingly and willingly, and this is about falsifying and all of that, which we don't do that. We're now stating that anyone claiming to be the United States must actually be the United States, which is the living United States, us. When it comes to deeds and titles and certificates of title, rather, and land and all of that. And then Title 18, United States Code 911, citizen for the United States. No person shall falsely and willfully represent himself to be a citizen for the United States. So those persons that were at, let's say, hospitals or post offices or grocery stores or any place that were claiming to be U.S. citizens must be properly naturalized so that they present themselves properly as a citizen for the United States. That means they're for us, just like United States for America. Title 18, United States Code, subsection 912, officer or employee for the United States. Ipso jure more subjects, yes. Ipso jure means that they didn't even have to put anything on the public record. That's who they are, because by virtue of where they are. That's what ipso jure subject is. So they start out that way because they're on our land. Okay? And when I say they're a part of us. They are a part of us. So let me say this too, and the ancestors have been prompting me and urging me to make this statement regarding the subjects, but the statement is to the Moors. Moors, please, and I say please, our ancestors don't say please, it's a mandate from them. Get your energies right about the subject so that you don't misunderstand anything that's being said and done about the subjects as we move forward. Because there are subjects, they have rights as subjects. Get your energy right. Get your ego out of the way of your access to your estate. What I showed you about the registration, the TORRENS system at the beginning of this Congressional Assembly, what I showed you is the subjects doing as commanded. Okay? They will do as commanded when we're competent and peaceful. and don't have anything against them just because they may not, in our opinion, look like us. Okay? Just get the energy right, and, I try not to say things the way some of the more said. They'll just say, get over it. And I love when they say, get over it, because they're speaking, how I really feel about that. But I don't speak by my feelings. I have to speak by the law and the way that we govern. So that way you're not blocking your own blessing. Okay. Title 18, officers, Title 18, subsection 912, about the officers. No person shall falsely assume nor pretend to be an officer or employee under the authority for the United States nor any department. And I may restate these even further, because this is, now that I'm thinking about it, this is stated in sort of negative law, and we want to state things in positive law. How would we change it from negative law to positive law? We would do this. We would remove the word no, because that's a negative word, which is not, again, it's not a bad word. It's just it's speaking from a place of negative. All persons, and persons being those tools that we use. This is not people, it's persons. All persons shall truly and willfully present themselves, willfully meaning at your will, to be a citizen for the United States. All persons, Morris. This is not people, this is persons. So if you're going to use a person to do things and get things, what is a person? The all caps or the in capitis diminutio minima. It's not you, it's a tool. So when we make this positive law, we'll say all persons shall truly and willfully present themselves to be a citizen for the United States. That means they're going to be for you. For you. To include, for example, Pauline Denise Ritchie, that is my creation. I created her. She is, that one in all capital letters, that's a company. In capitis diminutio minima is a citizen, and in capitis diminutio nolo is the sovereign. And then I am me. I'm the God of her and all of those presentments. Okay? I use Pauline in all capital letters to go and get parts of the estate where she is the authority. I use the in capitis diminutio minima Pauline Denise Ritchie tool to state other things, to go and get other things. She's the fiduciary for certain parts of the estate, etc. And then in capitis diminutio nolo is how we all gods speak together. Title 18, United States Code 912. All persons shall truly, let's make it positive law, shall truly not assume nor pretend, but shall truly be, let's see, all persons to whom this code applies shall truly be an officer or employee. Well, that's true, because even the subjects are employees under the authority for the United States and any department, agency, and officer thereof, and let's see. To whom this code applies means at your will, Morris. That means you don't have to do anything, but to access the system, okay, these things are necessary. To access the system. Under the authority for the United States and any department, agency, and officer thereof, yeah, you must truly be that. And no acts as such, let me see, and all here, and all demonstrations as such may demand or obtain any, and we can, or obtain money, paper, documents, and things of value. And property. And that is in the demonstration of that office, that money and paper and documents and properties and things of value can be gained. Okay? That is in your official capacity, and it's not by yourself, it's all of us together and by that office. So, for example, as a sheriff, a Sherifian peace officer can go and obtain property, documents, money, paper in the capacity of their office when things are done in the way that the system requires. Title 18, United States Code 913, impersonator making arrest or search. We'll leave this one in negative status. No person shall falsely represent himself to be an officer, agent, or employee for the United States. No person shall assume character in order to arrest or nor detain any person, nor shall in any manner search the person, buildings, or other property of any living person. That can stay that way when you're talking about those impersonating. No person shall falsely personate any true and lawful owner of any share or sum in the public stocks or credit nor instrument for the United States, nor any person entitled to any annuity, dividend, pension, wages, nor other credits due to, for, or from the United States. And that there's only one United States. I say living United States, but there's only one, and that's the living United States. No person shall, under color of such false personation, transfer or endeavor or attempt to transfer such public stock, nor any part thereof, nor receive nor endeavor to receive the money of such true and lawful holder thereof, nor the money for any person legally and lawfully entitled to receive such annuity, dividend, pension, benefits, or other credit or property. And then finally, Title 18, United States Code 915, foreign diplomats, consuls, or officers. No person shall, with intent to defraud within the United States, falsely assume nor pretend to be a diplomat, consular, nor other official of a foreign government duly accredited as such to the United States. Nor shall any person act as such, nor in such pretended character, demand, nor obtain, nor attempt to obtain any money, paper, document, or any other property of value at any time, non-pro-tunc. And we may go back and put this in positive law status here. It will still do as we intend the way that it's written. We just feel comfortable doing positive law. And so what we did is we have placed these seals for the United States Post Office. And again, these are restated seals. These are ours. This is for just a moment. For the Marshals, the United States Marshals, the United States Post Office, and the United States Postal Service. Okay, so these are restated seals here. And then it is, signed by, accepted, recorded, and filed. Notice the word recorded in all of this. Recorded and not registered, but recorded by King County Superior Court, Thurston County Superior Court, the County Clerk's Office for Pierce County, Kitsap County Superior Court, Snohomish County Commissioner, Calcasieu Parish County Court, and all others. District for Columbia. Okay. And then finally here at the end, we put our own, the Treasury stamp and seal, the Currency Controller, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, our ancient pyramid, Annuit Coitus, and then our gold seal, and then the Masonic compass and the Masonic sign, symbol for government. And what we do with this is we just put a lowercase g in red in this as we're signing these documents, a lowercase g in red. So just for those who know something about the Masonic orders, who were pretending to be the Masons, those were actors. We're the real government. And when they put that G in there, it was a black G, a black capital G. That means they were acting as government in those Masonic lodges. And it was kept a secret for that very reason. So with that being stated, this is the deed. The title and the occupancy certificate have much of the same information on it. They almost look identical. Okay. And again, if you don't understand what's being stated here, don't worry. The ancestors are going to show you. They'll reveal all of this to you. It's going to come. When we did our first deeds and things, they were not this detailed. They were not this specific. But the more we looked at the information, the ancestors just kept saying, okay, now put this and put this in our spirit, put this, add this, research this, look this up. And that's why we took a whole, month. And we worked during that time period and did presentments also, because we never stopped governing, but we rested because there was a lot. It's just a lot. And now we're raring to go and ready to go and putting things forth on the public record in even greater detail, more competently, more just all around. We feel more comfortable with what the ancestors are showing us about our land and about the subjects and all of that. And let me say this too, because our energy is right about the subjects, we're going to see so much more of the transfer, and it's not really a transfer, but we'll call it that for the sake of this conversation. The transfer on the public record, saying we're not, from the previous era stating that they're not in control of anything. And then we just come on the public record and say we're in control of it. We state that for ourselves, first by our demonstrations being competent, and second by, and equally as important, by our words and us continuing to meet together. That's important. Us meeting and staying together and governing together is the key to access to the estate. Are there any questions, comments, wisdom about what we've shown thus far? Let me see what that question was, because I did not see it.
Ms. Law members, this is Travis Beck, Michigan Territory. Does this also apply to our ancestors that already passed before us, like grandparents, their parents' land may be from Alabama and different parts of our land?
Absolutely, yes. See, I thank you for that question, and I'll just give this brief affirmation. When King County talked about 3,500 parcels being being applicable to 3,500 parcels, but then someone put in the chat, but there's 564,000 parcels. That's what they're talking about. The parcels that our ancestors had was thousands of acres, thousands and thousands of acres, and those were divided up into smaller parcels. So when we put it on the public record for all land, all moors, all of that, it's going to encompass everything that has to do with our ancient ancestors. My grandfather on my mother's side had thousands of acres at Alabama. And when he passed away, he willed it to like a certain number of acres to each one of his children, and he had something like 18 children or something like that. He had a lot of children, but they were by different empresses. You know, so my mother was an only empress from her mother. Her mother only had one heir, and that was my mom, my mother. So it broke everything down. Because we have done everything as the all, it's going to encompass all those other parcels and portions that our ancestors had. So where the subjects are concerned with regard to what we're stating, and we know that what we stated last week was why the documentation didn't, that YouTube, you know, that there was something going on with the broadcasting. It had everything to do with the subjects and the way that we state things about the subjects. We are good stewards where subjects are concerned. We don't oppress the subject. So let me say this about, there's something in the chat. Submitting an affidavit for the list of affidavits that was listed on the document that was sent in the ID packet. There was a... Morris, do you all hear how that fading in and out and stuff and their communication? You hear how it's distorting? When that happens, that's not by accident. That means that things are being done properly where we're concerned. Where subjects are concerned, and we will state this again, we put it on the public record last time, and you know, that documentation did not necessarily go on. With the question about the subjects, When we put this on the public record, what you see on the screen now is regarding the subjects. Let me say this briefly about, from a spiritual perspective, on the matter of subjects and the things that we're doing. The tools that we use to create the law that protects all subjects, citizens, minors, and foreigners on our land are ancient, sovereign, sacred, universal, original, indigenous tools, to include the letterhead that presents our ancient flags, signs, sigils, symbols, letters, holy words, sacred, supreme autographs, and above all, our holy, ancient, all-powerful seals, which is our right red thumbprint. These tools are inviolable, unalienable. They can never be leaned. They are not for subjects to use. Okay? These affidavits that we place on the public record that are on our letterhead are for us to use. These tools are for us. There is far more to this matter that we will present at a different time, but we wanted to put this on the public record because those tools are tools that are used to access the treasury, the appropriation. And persons who are not sovereign by bloodline and birthright cannot directly reach into the treasury and take whatever they want, because the treasury is created by the sovereign. Okay? So the way that subjects, citizens, minors, and even foreigners can access resources is by way of the programs that we put on the public record that they can apply. They can apply to those programs. So to the question in the chat, we're going to be introducing programs that the subjects can apply for, and then we will look at their application and see, okay, we're going to be looking for ways to give, okay? And that goes for all of us. We're going to be looking for ways to tribute from the treasury by way of the programs, but there is an application process that subjects, citizens, minors, and foreigners can use to access the treasury. Okay, but that has to go through our courts and our purview and the way we look at things and do things, our government structure. Okay, so that is the answer to the question that was put in the chat. Affidavit for the list of affidavits that was listed on the document that was sent in the ID packet. I'll look back at that ID packet as well and just see. Because I don't, let me see, was there a list of affidavits in that packet? Yes, indeed. Okay. And as we look at the applications that come in for the programs that we put on the public record for everyone to do, such as recording of property, proper recording of property. Subjects and citizens can have property. And when we say have, we don't mean own and title. We don't mean that. We mean that they can occupy property. That must be done properly. Okay? So Pauline Ritchie in all capital letters can occupy some property, but she has to go through the sovereign government process for that. Pauline Ritchie in capitis diminutio minima can occupy a domicile and all of that. But Pauline Ritchie in all lowercase letters, and has dominion over that domicile. But Pauline Ritchie in capitis diminutio minima will put the proper forms on the public record, and the forms from Pauline Ritchie and Capitis Diminutio Nolo, which is all lowercase letters, will accompany those documents that Pauline Ritchie puts on the public record. So subjects don't have an in capitis diminutio nolo, okay? That's why they go through the government. The government is sovereign. And so we want to make sure that we clearly clarify why things are the way they are, so that everyone can prosper. Everyone can prosper. And more, that's why it's important for us to ensure that our energy regarding the subjects and the citizens and the minors and the foreigners, that our energy is clear and clean and shiny and alkaline regarding them, so that they can prosper according to chapter 29, magistrate and subject. And as they prosper, listen, they're going to be prospering and enhancing our estate also. Maybe not to the magnitude that we are, because we create the estate, but still, you know, we want everyone to do well and to be happy. Who have patents? What about the sovereign 50 states who have patents? Are you referring to land patents, Empress Camilla? Okay, so the land patents are, they come by way of the United States for America. That's where the land patents come from. That's where they're appropriated from. So we restate them. And as we stated before, we restate, everything is restated so that it's living instead of not living. We restate it as the United States first, and then the individuals can apply or petition or whatever they're going to do through our courts to have our courts validate that yes, they are on this property. Yes, they own this property, whoever it is. Or yes, they have the right to be on this property. The Constitution applies to all of us. We are aligned with the Constitution, and our subjects, citizens, minors, and foreigners are under the Constitution. And when we say under, we mean under the protection of the Constitution, because it's a document that should protect their ability to do things as well, and to have their properties and to enjoy the properties and things of that nature. Because subjects and citizens have a right to enjoy, because we've given them the right to enjoy the properties, the lands, and things of that nature. And that's the term that we use, enjoy. They should enjoy it here. We should all enjoy it here. That's why I say we are really going to party and have a great time in terms of being the heirs to the land and implementing government in the peaceful, lawful, rightful way. We're going to have an awesome time with that. I'm enjoying it already. Okay. The document that's on the screen, this is just this is notes from our last from our last Congress that YouTube, we uploaded twice, and I said, it did not properly display or broadcast on YouTube, and I know that has everything to do with our energies when we present the information, and us being good stewards of the information. How we present the information will determine, our ability to properly and peacefully and with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice govern that information. So with that being stated, there's just a couple of things that we want to state really quickly. There's another USC code, not USC, but United States Code 31, United States 3713, government priority claims. Where the United States is concerned, our claims are always paid first. Okay, so this United States Code subsection 3713 states, it's entitled, Title 31 is money and finance, Chapter 37 is claims, Subchapter 2 is United States government claims, and subsection 3713 just one moment. That's a good question in the chat. Empress Camilla, thank you for that question that you put in the chat. She said, I thought we only operated through the treaty, so we are also under the Constitution? Let me answer that question with a question to you, Empress Camilla. If we only operated by treaties, how would we let's say, how would we purchase a domicile? If we only operated by treaties, what then would govern the domicile? Because treaty is the law. Yes, we operate by treaties in our sovereign status as the nations. And let me say this, treaty is nations and states and the empire state. Okay. Legal processes is government of the resources. So yes, allodium is one way, but the record must show. And the record is the Constitution and all of the records associated with that. So further to that, we govern, yes. So yes. So let me clarify that and speak, if Empress Camilla, let me use the letterhead to assist with explaining that. This letterhead right here, this is where the treaty comes in at. This is where the treaty comes in at. This flag and this seal and this flag and this seal is where the treaty comes in at. This is a consulate seal right here. This is for the Moorish American consulate. That's where treaty comes in at. But then there are these levels. You see this flag, this banner for amity and commerce, and this state flag. Treaty is overarching above, and then the legal processes come in here at these two. This is state, and this is commerce, and this is state. This is where legal processes come in at. So when you're claiming things at the legal level, which is property and things of that nature, these commercial and state processes must be attached to and moored to the treaties and the empire. They must be moored to that, to our nationality. Okay. There are different levels, yes, of government. There's the first supreme is the spirit level. See, subjects are not party to a treaty because they're not the states and nations and the bloodline and birthright, as it were, in our original form, in our original being. Subjects, minors, citizens, foreigners are not party to a treaty. They are under the authority and protection of the Constitution. So we must govern all the levels. All the levels. That is actually not even a choice where we can just allow anyone else to do that. Yes, through the Constitution. In other words, the Constitution is yes, absolutely. That is truth. Through the Constitution. In reality, we are the Constitution because we're the law. The Constitution is law. It's supreme law for the land. So it's part of us. And that is how protection for subject citizens, minors, and foreigners happens. It happens by us. Yes, it is commercial, Islam. Yes. Yep, it's commercial. Now remember, Empress Camille, the only reason that we had them to come here and that they came here, and you can, for proof of this, you can do the study on the Act of Algeciras 1906, which we've restated. They came here to do commerce. See, we didn't need commerce before they came here because we did things in lots. We would just go out onto the land and pull from the land and just share among each other. But then when they came here, it was a situation where, okay, we have to keep track of what comes from the land. They can't just go and just wholesale pull off the land. No. That's for merchants to do. They can't just go and cut down all the trees in the Amazon and start selling it with fiat. No, that's not how this works. We govern the resources. And when I say they, I mean corpses and corporations. They can't do that without us governing that. So, again, we govern and we are the Constitution. There is no law that we are not. So these are the different levels. This is a universal level right here. United States for America is universal. Moorish National Republic federal government is universal, and then we govern here at the land, but on all lands. So Empress Shasha and them are Moorish National Republic federal government and United States for America at Jamaica. Justice Kansu is the same, United States for America, Moorish National Republic federal government, and Ancient Washington District for Columbia at UK territory, and so on and so forth. All of the Moors that are at the different territories, they are still one and the same with us. That's why, some talk about a one world government. One world. We've been a one world government. We're the one earth government. Okay. So, with that being stated, Empress Camilla, you can star 6 to state your question so that you can star 6 to state it. So U.S. doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing. We're the United States. We write that out. We don't use their abbreviations. IMF is an abbreviation, so it's not valid. We are the International Monetary Fund. That's us. That's a corporation that we govern. So that stuff from no. They don't exist. We're the trust management. And we govern the corporation that ministers that. We are the trust management. There's no they. They doesn't exist. It's we. Where are the 19 enumerated positions? They'll be there when we put them there. We'll put them there. That's why government takes thousands of years. Because we govern all of that. We'll put them there when they're necessary. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And we're already there. We can put them there today if we chose to. So with that being stated, I want to make a couple. They can speak of it because they just can't govern it. They can speak of it, and they should. They should speak of it. So now I want to state here, a judgment claim will go back to the United States government and this 31 United States Code, subsection 3713. Government priority claims. Government priority claims. A judgment claim by the United States government shall be paid first when a person is insolvent. Let me name a few persons that were insolvent. IMF, USA, U.S. Department of the Treasury, all insolvent persons. All insolvent persons. That's why there's no they. All insolvent. Like as we stated before, if we didn't do it, then that claim is false. We have done as stated, as we have stated on the public record regarding the living United States. So a judgment claim by the United States government shall be paid first when a person is insolvent. If they're insolvent, we just say, okay, let's handle this. Let us do what needs to be done. The insolvent person's previously claimed property is assigned to the creditor United States by said creditor if property is not enough to make the creditor whole. And, you know, you all are mature and understand these things. Property previously claimed by the insolvent person, if absent, is attached by United States attachment writ. We demonstrated an attachment writ regarding the post office about 2 or 3 months ago. We demonstrated that for this Congress, where we can attach to the property, not to the dead, not to the debtor, not to the not to any fraud, but to the property. A judgment claim by the United States government shall be paid first when property previously claimed by the insolvent person, if absent, is attached by United States attachment writ, or an Article 3 court bankruptcy judgment is ministered, or the insolvent person's previously claimed property is in the custody of the creditor's executor, trustor, fiduciary, and minister. And this should actually say and, because these are things that all of this it must be done properly so that the system responds to the things that are being stated. Okay. Are there any other questions about 31 United States Code, subsection 3713, government priority claims, or 12 United States Code, subsection 3713, regarding title transfer and possession? Are there any other questions about those two?
Yes, ma'am.
Islam in prison.
I noticed that this one that we're looking at is in red, and then the previous one that we just was at is blue. So because we are stating the deeds as being the original gods at earth, and then the other one is pertaining to commerce.
The deeds are first stated from our sovereign perspective as the gods at earth. That is what our affidavits are all about. Our affidavits are from our sovereign position, title. Okay? And that is something subjects cannot do. They can't do that. We must do that. Then the deed that we create afterwards that resembles, it looks a lot like deeds that we've seen before. Then we create that one based on the affidavit where we spoke from the throne that is God. So there's always 2 documents for each action, and really 3 when you include our nationality document and fiduciary document. All that we're doing is first for us and then for the public. Okay. This one is in red. This one is in blue because this was the one prior to being restated, and then this one is in blue regarding the United States government and the claims that we have stated on the public record. So like when we did the demonstration for the building down the street, that was done where United States is concerned. The true United States was speaking. The living United States was speaking. No, we don't do anything from the private right now in terms of claiming of buildings, except our domiciles. You know, the domiciles and things are done they're claimed privately, but the United States must issue them. And that way you won't have problems with frauds showing up at the door in costumes. You know, there are that's what the system is all about, and that's what our ancestors willed for us to state and to demonstrate properly. Okay. So let's see. Just a moment. So with that being stated, the domiciles are private. The subjects have a private status. Let me think that question through. We'll think it through together. We'll think it through together. The domicile is private. The subjects, they can be a public subject or a private subject. Right now, all of the whole subject status piece is working for the public. It's working for the public. And then they have, we have given them rights to enjoyment of property. Okay? And so your question goes all the way back to what we talked about initially, where someone said that there are 564,000 other or they didn't say other parcels. There are 564 parcels listed for King County. Those 564,000 parcels are most likely those who were pretending to be owners of property that have been proven, it's proven they don't own any property, so they're going to have to state a claim. The claim for subjects will be, do they have a right to enjoyment of the property? They know they don't have title. Okay, title is that's above the level of legalism. Title is a lawful thing, and subjects exist from a legal perspective because that's how they came here. Okay, title versus certificate of title. That's the answer to your question, essentially, or the metric of title versus certificate is the answer to your question. Title happens at the sovereign level. Certificate of title happens at the legal level, or the constitutional level, or the subject level. Title is time immemorial, way back, cannot be disputed, cannot be bought or sold. That's what actual title is. Yes, you do. Yes, Empress, you do. She said she just needs clarification of relationship. Yes, there are 3 levels, and we'll continue to express those 3 levels. But just for the sake of in fact, I'll just do it this way. Title is here. Title is at the all lowercase level. Ancient title happens at this level. Ancient title in red, in all lowercase letters, with the right red thumbprint, and then the bloodline and birthright, just that's that. Yes, Empress, that's why we've done what we've done. In capitis diminutio, minima is where the first letter is capitalized, and so we'll, for the sake of this explanation, we'll do it there. This is where the people are. The people is first the heirs and their subjects. That's this level. And this level is, I would say, just for the sake of this demonstration, this can be in blue. And then this is that level. Title is here. Deeds is here. Deeds issued by government is here. And then here, and this is a commercial process too. At this level, it's still a commercial process. But at this level, this is the corporate commercial process. Deeds and all, not even deeds at this level. It's not even deeds. It's just occupation happens at the corporate level. And when we say occupation, we don't mean dead occupation. We mean if I wanted to have a corporation and have it in all capital letters and do things with that corporation, it will be a living corporation that, for example, Microsoft. Microsoft belongs to the Moors. Okay. Nike belongs to the Moors. Apple belongs to the Moors. The living Apple, the living Nike, the living Microsoft, not the dead ones. That all belongs to us. All corporations belong to the Moors. All living corporations belong to the Moors. Okay. So, Empress Camilla, a lot of times we see not you, but Moors who convolute these levels. And we've done that before in the past as well. Convolute the level. Don't convolute the levels. We are the gods of all here at this red level here, at the sovereign all lowercase level. We're the gods of everything at that level. That should not be convoluted in with the commercial people level. It shouldn't be convoluted in there. And if I may use this allegory, it is a card that we pull when necessary. The God card is the card we pull when necessary, but it must be properly demonstrated, which is what we've done already. By putting documents on the public record in red and all lowercase letters first, then and in our ancient sovereign language first, which is ancient English, and anyone can any of the bloodline and birthright. All you have to do is look within you to speak it, and spell the way you choose to spell. That's ancient English, and we honor that. And then at this level, where the first letter is capitalized and the rest of the letters are lowercase, deeds are issued by government. And then government has an in capitis diminutio maxima level where we speak to corporations and tell them what they can and cannot do. And it is honored. Why? Because of this level being the people, because the people make the rules and the laws. And then this level, because before we were people, we were God. Okay. So now, with having stated that, there's a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention in conclusion of this particular Congressional Assembly. The word Biden, because everything has a meaning. All words mean something, and it has everything to do with the Moors. Bi means two, and then means teeth or tooth, or a two-pronged weapon or instrument. And for us, it's an instrument. Biden, that is a subject, just like what we showed at the beginning, where King County has done some things, enacted some things rather, on the public record. That is what this is all about, is we are the head, and the second prong is the tail. It is going to assist other Moors who are waking up when they see that, King County, quote unquote, has put something out there that says their TORRENS system is no good, because the TORRENS Act is not a thing. It's an act. That means that in accordance with what we've stated, that's the first prong. That's the first part of the instrument, tooth of the instrument, or the tip of the spear. And then the subjects will enact some things that will give those who were looking in the funny mirror thinking that was real, they'll be looking for another way to do things, because they'll see that thing is not there. It's not that even that instrument is saying that it is not the right instrument. Okay. So that means to wait, to remain, to tarry, to say bide. bide your time means to wait, to tarry, to stay. Bidens, the Latin is twice. So when we say United States, that's the first United States that there ever was. It is the original indigenous United States. Then we have the sunset for the actors who were pretending to be the United States. That's what this is all about. Okay? The beggar's life, which I thought was hilarious, because we know that the actors have been enacting going to other places and begging. That's just an enactment. Okay? And then I found this interesting. Bidential, the plural of bidentalia, a place in ancient Rome that has been struck by lightning and was consecrated. For being struck by lightning, it was made a holy place. Okay? Bidental. A place in ancient Rome struck by lightning and consecrated or made holy. That is a great explanation of what we all have been doing, because we know that in the past the actors acting as Washington D.C. were pretending to do things as ancient Rome. Another quick presentment: wand of peace. Because we are peace. We're not at war, we're at peace. A wand or staff carried by the messenger of a court, and which when deforced, that is hindered from executing process, he breaks as a symbol of deforcement and protest for remedy of law. Our staff is not broken. Our staff is still intact. Our ancient staff, the one that you see when you look at Egyptian presentments of Egyptian pharaohs, where they have the staff in one hand. Whoops, wrong way. The right is always over the left. They'll have the staff in one hand and they'll have a rod in the other. Wand of peace. So really quickly, in conclusion, September 2023, September 15th through the 25th. That's tomorrow. Begins our Rosh Hashanah, ancient celebration for the beginning of creation. We get to create. And then day for judgment, for being, again, it's more of the same. We've been judging. That's what our courts are all about. And the opening for the books. The opening for the books is TORRENS, recording of land. That's the opening for the books. Okay? Opening for the books is TORRENS, is proper recording of everything. It starts. And we've already been doing it. We've demonstrated it. And then also, I would ask in conclusion, and this is just a request from me, that when the full moon comes this end of September, that as many of us as can do the complete 3-day water only or water and sea salt only fast. We know that you can, again, this is just and I'm just asking from me to you that as many of us as can go without food for that 3-day period and drink lots and lots and lots of water and take the sea salt. Whenever you're feeling anything, natural sea salt, not that store-bought stuff. Look for natural sea salt, or go and harvest it from a place nearby, because that's where we get our sea salt from. But as many as can or as willing to do so, go without food for the entire 3-day period from midnight on the early morning time of the 27th. So it would actually be on the 26th, when nighttime comes on the 26th and goes to midnight, it becomes the 27th. That's when we start the fast, midnight. And then we go all the way until midnight on the 29th. So again, this is not a mandate. It's a request that as many as can for that 3-day period go without food, and because this time is the capstone, and October is going to be a great month for us. And also with regard to government and money and all of that, the day is fast approaching for proper fiscal demonstrations. And I'll leave it at that. And so this fast coming up the 27th, 28th, and 29th will be in honor of that as we continue to govern together, so that we see way more. And we had already prophesied that you would see the removal of that funny mirror, the sunset of it. We proclaimed it and declared it, and we've been stating that all along. It's happening now, and so we're going to see far more of that coming up in the next days, weeks, and months. And so it is our gift to ourselves and to our nation and to our state and our empire to govern the land properly and accordingly. So with that being stated, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom? You can star 6. Questions, comments, wisdom regarding all that has been stated. Be on the lookout. And if it doesn't happen today, just keep demonstrating at your territories where they start saying this system is going away, and they're not going to replace it with any other system because we're here already. Okay, so you'll see that at your territories as well, even though this one that is for this territory encompasses the whole earth as well, because all land is connected. But you'll start to see that as you continue to demonstrate deeds, owner occupancy certificates, and titles and things of that nature. Any other questions, comments, wisdom? Islam. Peace. We will adjourn until Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Peace and love, more.
Thank you. Much gratitude for the erudition. Much gratitude.
Royal rising, Islam, and gratitude.
Islam. Indeed, Islam. We will adjourn. Peace. Until Sunday. Peace and love. Islam.
Peace and love, and thank you.
You're welcome, Islam. The honor is all mine. Islam.